Howdy. Welcome back. As you can see, the hair is back in full effect, which is also kind of dating myself again. This is going to come out very soon. And as you can see, again, I don't have my Bible. I don't have my my laptop. I liked last episode so much that as I was going through some of the stuff that I've written, I was like, man, I think I really just want to do another one like last week. And so here we are. I have a different book this time, obviously. This one is called The Emotionally Healthy Leader. The chapter that I'm going to be taking a snippet from is called The Emotionally Unhealthy Leader. This book was gifted to me, whatever. I got the book when I was visiting some really close friends down in Florida. And I've had the book now for, I want to say, this June will be a year. So give it, several more months. It's really good. It's one of those books, as you can tell by the marker, it's one of those books that I got a little over halfway through, but I never finished. And it kind of sucks that I didn't finish this one because it's really good. There's some stuff in it that I was like, man, this is weird. But overall, I think it's really good. And I really enjoyed how last episode went. Very open-ended, very just like what was on my heart in that moment. And I feel like that's where I thrive. Like that's where I feel like I pull my best ideas and my best, some of my best thoughts from. And so I kind of wanted to have that same feeling again today. You know what I mean? I wanted to kind of go in here. There's an excerpt in here that I really liked. Plus, this book is kind of where I get a lot of my ideas of, not where I get all my ideas, but like some of the ideology when it comes to awareness and just really being aware. I think there was one quote in particular where it was like, emotional deficits are manifested primarily by a pervasive lack of awareness. Stuff like that, man. It's just good quotes. Don't mind me just readjusting. I feel like I had time to readjust my chair and stuff before I started, but here we are. Stuff like that, man. That's just such a good quote. And it's just so true. But that's not what I want to get into today. I could get in that and whatever. I could go forever on that. The quote that I want to get onto today is on page 27 of the book. It says, when we devote ourselves to reaching the world for Christ while ignoring our own emotional and spiritual health, our leadership is short-sighted at best. At worst, we are negligent, needlessly hurting others and undermining God's desire to expand his kingdom through us. Leadership is hard. It involves suffering, but there is a big difference between suffering for the gospel, as Paul describes in 2 Timothy 2:8, and needless suffering that is a result of our unwillingness to honestly engage difficult and challenging leadership tasks. For me, as I have gone through being given the opportunity to be a leader in the church over the past couple years, and I can hone in on specific time frames, like whether it's over the past year in particular or over the past two or whatever, it makes things weightier because it should be. Like things feel more important, not necessarily because they are, but because the opportunity is there. Like the bigger picture is kind of ingrained in your mind. The difference between volunteering and leading is kind of insane, because I don't know any leader personally that would say that they are better than their volunteers or more valuable than their volunteers. I know a lot that would say the opposite. And what's crazy is that as much as like it's hard to convey like the hierarchy of it isn't a true hierarchy. Um, but I really want to harp on from this quote specifically. Um, when we devote ourselves to reaching the world for Christ while ignoring our own emotional and spiritual health, our leadership is short-sighted at best, and at worst, we are negligent, needlessly hurting others and undermining God's desire to expand His kingdom through us. I've talked about this on and off, kind of throughout this series so far, about how you can do God's work while not having a good relationship with Him. And I think that's just a hard concept, and it's a weird one at the same time. I know how draining leadership, being a leader can be when you aren't willing to communicate with God and be with God. And I mean, that waves, just going through the different seasons with God, and seasons is such a church person thing to say. I'm in this season of life. Well, okay. It's not necessarily wrong to say. It's just so church to say. But my point is this: it is so emotionally damaging to those who want to help if you were just not willing to give forth the effort of leading. And I say this from a perspective of the volunteer and of the leader. Things just don't run. What's really beautiful about the church is that it can be a mess. Like, things can be a mess. Like, it can be so all over the place when it comes to like such minute things that from the outside perspective you probably wouldn't notice, but from the inside perspective you're like, man, it's just not ticking right. The things are getting done, but they're not getting done well. Ugh. And so it's so beautiful how God has entrusted us to do this, like just to start and be a part of and to lead in His church. But it's also so gross sometimes because we just mess it up. The grossness is what's beautiful because it really allows us to see God's hand in all of it. Like, it allows us to really look at it and go, man, now that I see what we've done, I really understand how much God has done for us, because there ain't no way we got here without Him. I just wish, just leadership is hard, it involves suffering. That quote in here is so good. And I honestly get really weird talking about being a leader. Because it was one of those things that as a kid and even as like a young adult in high school, like I rejected so heavily and so strongly. Like, I didn't want to be a leader. I didn't want to lead things. I didn't want to be put in that light. I didn't want people to follow me because I knew how I thought of myself at that time. I remember one time in high school, we were cracking jokes or something in class one day, and the teacher just got so mad he pulled me outside of class, and he's like, Grayton, these people listen to you. Like, these other kids, your friends, they listen to you. You are a leader whether you like it or not, and you can't keep disrupting this, like this class. You can't keep doing this, because whatever you do, whatever you're gonna do and whatever you are doing, they are doing actively with you. And I hated it. I started crying. I was like, I don't, which, not a big surprise if you know me, I'm a crier, but I was like, I don't want that. That's not my goal. My goal isn't to be, at the time I said, I don't want to be a leader. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here to be their friend. Like, I'm not here for the responsibility of the leader. That shouldn't be on me because I didn't ask for it to be on me. And then even through high school, there were several instances where people just coined to me as a leader, and I denied it and refused it. I really refuted it over and over and over again. And obviously, as I've grown just as a person, let alone spiritually, I've really kind of slowly been molding into that role in several aspects of my life, whether it's as a friend, whether it's as a colleague, whether it's just as a person, whether it's at the church, whether it's everywhere, whether it's at school. And I still fail, like, a lot. Like, like, just being vulnerable. Like, I notice when I fail. And like, I've also noticed moments where, like, I've gotten big breaks, and I can see myself almost mentally trying to find a way to sabotage it so that isn't on my shoulders anymore, because I spent so long refuting that. And I think what we skip a lot in life is the need for being aware, not only in what's going on around us, but what's going on inside of us. I talk a lot about being aware of your surroundings, but it's so important to be aware of what's going on inside of you, and to really be able to sit down with these difficult decisions and these difficult things that have happened to you and that are happening to you, and saying, you don't have power over me the way that you think you do. And it's not to say that you shouldn't ever mourn something. I mourned several things. You should grieve. You should be able to grieve, and you are able to grieve. It's when you let that grieving take your life and go, this is mine now. That's when you've lost control over it, and you've, instead of giving your life to God, you've given your life to your grief. It's over. The moment you admit you lost, it's over. It's okay to admit that you're down. But lying to yourself and saying that you've lost in a situation that you haven't even started yet it's asinine. It doesn't make any sense. And I only say that because I get it. Like, I totally get it. I was at a point in my life where I thought I'd hit the end of my life, and I was ready to pursue that action in the ending of my life. And I admitted to myself I was done. And luckily for me, God just stepped in and just took over in that moment. It was like, what are you talking about? But I had lied to myself. I had allowed those lies in my head to tell me that there was nothing left, that there was nothing else. And I really think that's what the root of all this is. That's why it's called What Else Is There? Because there is something else. What else is there was my biggest cry for help that I've ever had in my life, when it comes to the actually me praying that to God, saying, God, what is this? What else is there in life? Have I hit my ceiling? Am I done? And so when I finally got my answer, it hit me. It's like, there's so many things. Life is such a burden. And it is such a beautiful thing. It's like how despair is one of the most beautiful places you can be, because you have loved something enough to the point where you mourn its exit. Its absence makes you mourn. That it's such a beautiful opportunity to have, that you ever got to love something so much, or to care about something so much, that once it's gone, you mourn and you grieve. You've been given the opportunity to love something. Life is it has the opportunity to be so fulfilling if we will only just open our eyes and be aware about who we are and what's going on around us. So many things can be achieved in life if you're just willing to open your eyes a little bit. Just a little bit. We just won't do it. We're just so ignorant to what that looks like. And it causes, just like this quote says, it causes the needless hurting of others. The one of the truest but corniest, absolutely cornball of a quote. The hurt people hurt people. Factual. A little obvious. Feel like I didn't need like a whole thing about it. But it's true. the part that quote doesn't really get to is that we're all hurt by something, somebody, something has happened. Somebody has happened. A lot of us have several somebodies. A lot of us have several somethings. And there's a lot of stuff in my life that I've had to just get rid of control over. Like, just go, I'm not supposed to be holding on to this anymore. I should have never been holding on to this so long. But I allowed myself time to mourn, and I allowed myself time to grieve. And the same way I've allowed myself time to celebrate when something good happens. Why would I ever not allow myself time to celebrate or mourn something? What is inside of us that makes us go, this is awesome, but I'm not done yet. I need more of this. I need more of that. Oh, I just got a raise, but it's not enough. I need more. Like, when things are good, we don't slow down enough to celebrate and to really realign ourselves and go, this is amazing. What an opportunity I have. We don't do it when good things happen, and we do it too much when bad things happen. When something bad happens, we slow down and we stop. The gears grind to a halt. Nothing else matters at this point. And it doesn't make sense, guys. What are we doing? I mean, I know why. I've been knocked down to the point where I feel like there's just no getting back up to. I chose this book not because I want to talk specifically to leaders. I just want to talk specifically to people. Leadership looks like anything. I think one of the most important things in life is really finding your purpose, but also finding your role. We all have roles in a weird way, like in like a human way. We have roles in people's lives the same way other people have roles in our lives. Like, it's like how you have friends that are balls of energy and you have some friends that are just like always asleep. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they fulfill different roles. Like, I have some friends that I just go out and like once a month we go out to eat together, and that's it. And that's what we do. I have some friends that I talk to every day on the phone, and that's what we do. I have friends who I go and visit over, once a week, every other week on average, and that's just what we do. And within those groups, I also have friends that, are very critical of me, and in a good way, in like a very concise, very, very loving, but also very like real way. But I also have friends that are like, no, what you're doing is good. That are very calm and very loving and aren't judgmental is not the word. Aren't condemning isn't either. I don't know how to explain it. Like, people that put a little sugar on it, and some people that don't sugarcoat it. Like, those are some roles that I value really well in my life, because I don't really love when people sugarcoat it, but every now and then I will go to that person that sugarcoats it, and I want it from them, because I know what's right. And sometimes I know what's right and I need someone to slap it into me. Sometimes I know what's right and I need someone to just hand it to me. And so finding our roles is hard. Like, for the longest time, I struggled because I was so sad and just in depressive states for weeks on end, at least days on end. And there was nothing that I could find. I tried anything. I tried painting. I got really into disc golf, and that kind of stuck around. I actually really like disc golf. I tried reading, music. Like, I tried everything. I know I named like 3 or 4 basic things. I don't know how to explain it, but like the painting was one of the biggest things. I was like, this is so weird that I'm even trying this. But I was so worried because I always thought my role in life was only to make people laugh. Because I've always been told that I'm just funny. Or not that I'm just funny, but that I'm funny. Like, I've just been told that I've always been funny. I've always been the funny friend in the group. But I've also, with that came, to some people, I was always the loud and obnoxious one. which was totally fair. Those people were also right. Um, and so when I wasn't joyful, oh my gosh, excuse me. When I wasn't joyful anymore, I was so worried. I remember sitting down and telling a person or two, I was like, I just don't have, like, I'm not useful right now. I was like, I'm not useful because I don't have the energy to make people laugh. I'm not telling jokes anymore. And I wore the mask pretty well of being happy sometimes, but only in certain scenarios where it was around people who it wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary for them to be in the know. I was very vulnerable. I got lucky that I was one of those people where vulnerability was never really an issue for me. And so dealing with that sadness wasn't very hard because I was always an open book. Well, it was really hard, but I mean, dealing with it in the way of sharing it wasn't that hard. But when I ended up telling someone that I just felt like I was useless at the time because I didn't have the energy to make someone else laugh. They were like, "You've never just been the funny friend." They said you are the loving friend. Like one of the nicest things someone ever said to me, and I think about this daily. They said to me, "You love people the way Jesus loves people," and it hit me that I was like, I don't have to make people laugh, but I want to because I love them. I don't have to comfort someone, but I want to because I love them. And that kind of feeds into the way that I think people are the best and the worst thing the Lord has ever created. I feel that way because I love people so strongly. Like I get so frustrated with people and I think they're the worst because I'm like, you don't see it. Like you are missing the mark so hard. But my point is I found that helped me find my role as a person at this stage in life. And roles, man, I'm so sorry. And roles change. Like, I mean, you change. You develop, you transform. Like, this is how this is. It's just how people work. And so, when you are able to be aware, not only with your surroundings, but aware with yourself, and really fall into that role, that role that helps people and loves people and just shows people in the unique way that you will be able to do. That's what an emotionally healthy person is. When you're able to really fall into it and go, God, I am so broken. And I would love for you to help me see who I am. Because I know what I think I am, but I have no idea who I am. And you just start building that awareness it's so important. And it feels so trivial. Like it feels so like, duh, dude, duh. But it's not. We don't live that way. We don't live in that reality where we actually act like it's that simple. Because if we did, it wouldn't be a problem. If we did, then this wouldn't be a problem. But we do, so it is. I know this one was kind of short. I just don't know if I can go any longer. My brain is so fixated on the idea of you just fulfilling, like learning what your role is with other people. Because where the church seems to miss the mark the most, I think, is we just don't love others the way we should. And that doesn't mean conforming, but it does mean comforting. And it does mean loving. And it does mean saying what you're doing is wrong. But I love you. And I want to help if you want help. Because that's what I'm here for. And I know a lot of churches that do well. I know a lot of people that have left churches that don't do well with that. That's just how you make the kingdom smaller. You make heaven smaller the more you say to someone, it's not my job to help you. What's your role? You know what I mean? What is your role? Guys, I appreciate you being here. I know this is one short. We're gonna go back to the normal style episodes next week. I just had some of that on my brain. I appreciate all you guys are and all you guys do. I love you guys, and thank you for allowing me to kind of rattle off some thoughts while I was just sitting here. So, thank you. I also recommend the book, The Emotionally Healthy Leader. I think it's Scazzaro? Steve Scazzaro? I don't know. Scazzaro. Thanks, guys. Oh, yeah. Bye.